based on real events. Nastya was sitting in the kitchen making a list. So, wine, meat, spices, condensed milk and eggs for the cake, oh yeah, and cucumbers and mayonnaise for the salad. Didn't forget anything, I think. No, I forgot. A small hidden video camera. That's right. I'll have to drop by and find out the prices. Oh, my head hurts so much and I want to sleep. I'll go lie down. I have no strength at all. The girl had been living with her fiancé Vadik for a long time. Things were moving confidently towards the wedding. They had already filed an application with the registry office, but recently their relationship had been far from ideal. The couple constantly argued, although there seemed to be no particular reason for this. The thing is that Nastya had been feeling very bad for about a month and a half. She wanted to sleep all the time. She had a headache. She felt very weak, and sometimes even dizzy. The girl had already been to the doctors several times, had tests. She was told that she was absolutely healthy, but in reality, Nastya was getting worse and worse, and it was very frightening. Moreover, some kind of devilry started happening in the house. As soon as the girl fell asleep, the rooms were in terrible disarray. Even the linen in the closet was turned upside down, as if a ghost had appeared. Nastya tried 100 times to seriously talk about this with Vadim, to consult. She even asked if he was doing all this, because there was no one else in the house except the two of them. But he only twirled his finger at his temple and joked, "Nastena, are you completely crazy? Have you been watching too many mystical films? What brownies? You yourself were probably looking for something and forgot. And you are clearly winding yourself up with your health. The doctors told you that everything is fine with you, and here you are again. You are too suspicious, nervous, that's why you are making up all sorts of fables." The girl was irritated. "Well, I guess it's better for me to know whether I am feeling good or bad. Do you think I'm a complete idiot? And I don't remember what and where I put it, and where I got it from in my own house." So another scandal was flaring up. There were too many of them lately. Nastya began to worry. If things continue like this, there will be no wedding. We'll just break up and that's it. In order not to act so rashly, the girl decided to have an evening of reconciliation. She made a list, planned to cook a delicious dinner, open some good wine, buy expensive lace lingerie, and sit tete-a-tete. And to leave vivid memories, Nastya wanted to hang a small hidden video camera in the kitchen. It would be great to lie on the couch in 10 years and watch how they started their life together. The next day, the girl was busy in the kitchen, frying, steaming, and boiling, even though she wasn't feeling very well. She was throwing out the trash in the bin when a package of some pills gleamed at the bottom. Nastya mechanically picked it up and read the name. "It's weird. Where did this come from? I definitely don't take a drug like that. I don't even know what it's for." Having typed the name of the pills into Google, the girl read the description and was even more puzzled. It was a strong sleeping pill. Vadim was lying on the couch and looking for something on his laptop. The girl handed him the empty package and asked him directly, "Darling, look what I found in the trash can. Do you know whose this is? I definitely don't take pills like that." But he, as always, snapped, "Oh, Nastya, don't start. I think you've already become paranoid. Have you come to this? You've started crawling around the trash can. Please stop. How should I know what you're throwing out there? I thought you said that today was a surprise and an evening of reconciliation, and now you're starting again. Stop suspecting me of all mortal sins, or you'll start going to the granny soon." The girl closed the topic. She didn't want to ruin the evening, but she drew her own conclusions. She and Vadim had a nice time in the kitchen, had a delicious dinner, drank a glass of wine, and that was it. Nastya fell asleep again. She woke up the next day with a terrible headache and couldn't understand anything. What's going on? I had such plans, and I passed out again, and I only drank one glass. Is that even possible? Suddenly she remembered the camera that she had hung in the kitchen and began to watch the recording with curiosity. As she watched, she turned pale, grabbed her head, and her face changed. In the video, Vadim poured something into her glass and quickly stirred it while she was taking the roast out of the oven. What a bastard! Now it's clear why I sleep all the time and where these pills came from. But why does he need all this? What's the point? It's just a sleeping pill, it can't do much harm. This is all strange. We need to keep an eye on him some more. From that moment on, Nastya carefully watched what she ate. In front of Vadim, Nastya only pretended to drink, but quietly poured it into the sink. In just a few days, all the symptoms disappeared at once. She was as energetic as before, and she didn't want to sleep at all. But the girl didn't tell her fiancé about it. On the contrary, she began to complain even more about feeling unwell and pretended to be asleep. Another terrible truth came to light. There really was no poltergeist in the house. Vadim was playing its role. He was the one rummaging through things when he thought that the bride was fast asleep. Well, this is beyond the pale. Nastya decided and went to her only and best friend Marinka. She needed to consult with at least someone. They were sitting in the kitchen, the friend laying out the cards with expertise and frowning. Well, what can I tell you? Your shady fiancé. Oh, what a dark horse. And the ladies are hanging around him, and the house is government owned, and his interests are bad. Oh, Nastya, why did you even get involved with him? I didn't like him from the start, even though I only saw him once, and then only briefly. The girl sighed. Well, you remember how we grew up in the orphanage, surviving as best we could, fighting for every piece of bread, walking around like beggars, in those government-issued grey ugly uniforms and oak boots. And together we dreamed of breaking free, never returning to poverty, living a new life. I was so happy that I got the house from my late parents in some incomprehensible way. Words can't describe it. Remember how I worked as a maid in 3 shifts at first, working like a donkey to get by and pay for everything. And then I met Vadim. I really liked him. He comes from a rich family. His parents are some kind of businessmen. I thought they would be against me. I'm an orphan. Why would they need such relatives? But I was very wrong. Alexander Ivanovich and Elena Sergeyevna accepted me so warmly, like a family member. On the contrary, they tell Vadim that he is very lucky to have me. Before, he seemed to be no fool to drink and have fun, but when he started dating me, he immediately changed. Well, the fact that we live with me is nothing. The house is big, there is enough space. Vadim, by the way, insisted on it himself. But it's easier for me. Now I only go for 3 days a day, and Vadim earns the rest. It's enough for us. But what he does behind my back now is a nightmare. It's like he's been replaced. I have a woman's feeling that he has someone. We argue all the time. We've grown apart. Marina, I don't know what to do. Throw a scandal and run away. But then I'll never know what he's up to. And I can't pretend forever that I don't suspect anything. My friend thought, you know what, Nastya? How about I keep an eye on your darling? He doesn't even remember my face anymore. I have a professional camera. You know, I've been into this for a long time. I'm on vacation for now. That's it. I'll be like Agatha Christie, keeping an eye on him and reporting everything to you. And you pretend for now that nothing is happening. And wait for the results. Never mind. We'll expose the impudent fellow. Otherwise you'll marry him and he'll slip you even more pills. Who knows what's going on in his mind? Nastya's friend took up the matter with special zeal. She changed her image, put on a baseball cap and glasses that covered half her face, and began to follow. So Vadim left the house, drank coffee in a cafe, drove around the city, and parked near a restaurant. It's strange. Why doesn't he go to work? It's Monday, right? Okay, let's see what this goose has in mind, Marina reasoned. She also entered the restaurant, ordered a cup of Americano, sat down at the next table. Vadim was also clearly waiting for someone, ordered 2 salads, a steak, and a dessert. Suddenly, a glamorous beauty entered the restaurant, with false eyelashes, lips that covered half her face, and breasts of outstanding size. Vadim, seeing her, immediately jumped up, helped her sit down, kissed her on the cheek, and said tenderly, "Hi, darling. I missed you so much. While I was waiting, I even made an order for us. Everything just the way you like it." Marina's jaw dropped. "Darling? And who is Nastya then? What a twist. You're such a jerk." The couple sat for a long time, animatedly discussing something. Nastya's friend managed to take a couple of pictures unnoticed, and she, upset by what she saw, went home. A week later, the friends met again. Nastya looked into Marina's eyes with hope and asked, "Well, what? Is there any news? Did you manage to get any information?" The friend sighed heavily and put a photo on the table where her darling was cooing and kissing that glamorous chick. She began to tell quietly, "Oh, Nastya, there is nothing to make you happy about. Your Vadim doesn't work anywhere. At least this week he hasn't visited the company where he supposedly works as a department head. I think this lady supports him, and you too, it turns out. It's obvious from her that she's clearly not in poverty. And the fact that they are lovers is also without a doubt. You can see it all yourself." The girl burst into tears. She felt so bitter and hurt. "What a bastard! What about me? We have a wedding coming up. What should I do now? I'll go home right now and throw this scoundrel out. I just don't understand why he lives with me, was going to get married, if he's having an affair with this lady. I don't understand anything. And why is he stuffing me with sleeping pills? We can just break up. And it's completely unclear what he's regularly trying to find in the house." Marinka hugged her friend. "Wait a minute. So what if you throw Vadim out? We'll never find out the main thing, what this scoundrel is really up to. I have another suggestion. Let's hire a private detective. Let him find out everything through his own channels, and then you can throw the groom out. How do you like the idea?" Nastya wiped away her tears. "The idea is good, but where will I get the money for a detective? I would also like to ask him to find out at least something about my parents. Who are they? What did they do? Where are they from? And how did I get this house? I still don't know anything. The nannies only said that my parents were in an accident, that's all. Maybe I have other relatives?" Marinka reassured her friend. "Don't worry, I'll pay. I just got my vacation pay. You know I get paid well at a private clinic. I'll earn some more. I'm terribly curious myself how this will all end. Since we've started sorting things out, we need to finish the job, and you'll pay me back later, when you can." Nastya hugged Marinka and burst into tears again. "Thank you for helping me, for bailing me out. There's no one closer to me than you." Nastya pretended that she didn't suspect anything and continued living with Vadim, although it was very difficult for her. She literally began to hate him. She wanted to tell him everything and ask why he was doing this to her. But an agreement is an agreement, and she restrained herself. However, she now refused to be intimate with the scoundrel, citing poor health and drowsiness. He wasn't even upset, pretending that everything was fine. What a two-faced man. The very next day, the girlfriends contacted a detective agency and signed a contract. They hired a good, proven detective. Karpov Viktor Andreevich was a former policeman, had a nose like a bloodhound, and many connections in the authorities. After listening to the girls, the man scratched the back of his head. Yes, indeed, the picture is quite interesting. We should double check everything. Okay, I'll take on your case. Leave me your phone number and wait for the results. I'll get in touch with you. Until then, I ask you to live as before, so that your fiancé doesn't suspect anything. Agreed? Another 2 weeks passed. Nastya delayed the wedding as best she could and kept coming up with new excuses. Oh, honey, I don't feel well at all. I'll go to another clinic to get checked out. I just can't figure out what's going on with me. What if it's something serious? Let's wait another week or two. Let's not book a banquet hall for now. I've got no strength left. Vadim got irritated and raised his voice. As you wish. Maybe you've changed your mind about getting married. You've completely lost your health. I think it's time for you to make an appointment with a psychiatrist. Finally, the long-awaited call from the detective rang, and Nastya and Marina immediately rushed to him. Curiosity and anxiety simply tore them apart. Viktor Andreevich looked intently at Nastya and began a long story. I'll tell you right away, the case turned out to be oh so twisted. I barely got the information I needed. I had to use old connections, and in some places I even put some real pressure on her. Let's start with the history of your family. It turns out that your parents, Anastasia Pavlovna, are real millionaires. Your father, Mr. Yakubov, was the owner of a jewelry company, and not just one. They really did die tragically in an accident, which was also apparently orchestrated by ill-wishers. I pulled the case from the archive. Everything is also ambiguous there. An old gardener who worked for your family at the time told me a lot. So, your father was threatened more than once. This is a common thing in such a business, so just in case, he hid all the most valuable things from everyone, as if he felt that things would end badly. But exactly where, no one knew. After the death of your parents, your father's attorney, Vladimir Saratov, suddenly volunteered to be your guardian, allegedly took pity on the orphan, and decided to shelter you and raise you at his place. At that time you were only 3 years old. But this scoundrel turned out to be dishonest, grabbed a luxurious mansion of millionaires, and you, Nastenka, quickly placed in an orphanage. Of course, everyone was generously paid and everything was covered up. It turns out that your parents had 2 mansions. The one that Saratov took for himself was built at the peak of your father's career, and the other, simpler one, in which you now live. Your parents settled in from the very beginning of their life together. That's what Saratov gave you, through intermediaries, as compensation, so that nothing would be found out about his machinations. That's how it is, Anastasia Pavlovna. I think you already understand everything. If only you knew what it cost me to collect this information bit by bit. Nastya was in complete shock and couldn't utter a word. Her friend joined the conversation. So I still don't understand. What does Vadim have to do with it? How is he involved in this? What a mystery. Did you manage to find out anything? Viktor Andreevich continued. Of course, I don't just take money. Once I've taken on a case, I'll definitely see it through to the end. So, the groom Vadim Vladimirovich, whose last name is Saratov, is none other than the son of that very attorney who sent Anastasia to an orphanage instead of raising her in his own family. I talked to your father's former colleagues and found out that many assume that your late father hid all the valuables in this old house where you now live. Saratov Sr. recently died, and apparently before his death he told his son about the hidden wealth. Well, then everything went as planned. The scoundrel gets to know you, gains your trust, tells you that he is the son of rich parents, which is partly true. He really does have a luxurious mansion, and his father did not live in poverty on your parents' money. And so that you finally trust him, he hired actors for money who successfully played his rich parents. He really does have a mistress, Alimova Carolina, and she is a selfish lady. She will never miss out on her own benefit. So they apparently decided to get all the valuables by any means necessary to live comfortably until old age. But how can they find them if you live there? And so that you wouldn't bother them, Vadim gave you sleeping pills while he himself was busy searching. I don't think they were going to kill you. They had the guts. If they had really found something, then the groom, or at that time the legal husband, would have simply dumped you right there and then as unnecessary. What an unpleasant and dirty story it turned out to be. Nastya quietly cried. And what should I do with all this now? What about love? I was going to live my life with Vadim, raise children. Does that mean he never loved me? He just used me? Viktor Andreevich just sighed. I did my job. I found out the whole truth. And what you do is up to you. My advice to you, throw the scoundrel out and hire specialists to search for treasures. They will tell you for sure whether there is treasure in your house or not. If you want, I will help you with this matter. I will recommend a good friend with an impeccable reputation. He's a master at finding what's hidden from prying eyes. Oh, and if you're interested, your parents are buried in the central cemetery on Kirov, right next to the big birch tree, and the number is 1603. I found their grave to make sure and verify the fact of death. It would be a good idea to clean up there. Apparently no one has done that for a long time. Marina took Nastya to her place. They sat in the kitchen for a long time and cried together, trying to figure out what to do next and what to do. Her friend sincerely offered her help. Do you want me to go with you tomorrow? We'll chase the bastard away together. I'll give him a thrashing. You know how I fought in the orphanage. What a goat. How could you even start such a scam? How did you even come to your senses in time and think of installing a camera? Otherwise, you'd be walking around like a sleepwalker. Nastya just cried and waved her hands. No, Marinochka, no need. I'll do it myself. I want to look this bastard in the eye. I can't get my head around it. And I was thinking, how could such a rich kid want to take me, a grey mouse? But it turns out he only wanted my millions. How can I trust people now? And most importantly, why has no one from my father's circle told me the truth for so many years? Who am I? Whose daughter? That's the question. The friend just shrugged. Well, what do you expect? It's only in small towns that everyone knows everything about everything. Gossip spreads faster than the wind there. But in a big city, who cares about orphans like us? We got our profit and forgot about everything for many years. The next day, Nastya came home and began to resolutely pack her fiancé's things into a suitcase. There were quite a few. She put all the bags out in the yard and invited a repairman to change the locks on all the entrance doors. The girl was in a very belligerent mood and was not going to forgive the scoundrel under any circumstances. Unsuspecting, Vadim arrived in the evening, supposedly from work, and could not understand anything. The key did not turn in the lock, and there were some suitcases standing near the bench. He began to call Nastya on her mobile, but she was out of range. The guy freaked out, knocked on the window and shouted, "Nastya, open up. What kind of tricks are you doing again? Let's talk. What are you thinking of? I'm so sick of all this." The girl decided to go out and looked at Vadim with hatred. "Well, let's talk, darling." And she threw a photo of him kissing Karolina in his face. The guy realized that he was caught and started to dodge and wriggle. "Nastya, well, Forgive me, this is not serious. I love you. Well, I stumbled once. Who hasn't? She seduced me herself. I didn't want to. Let's forget everything and start over. Why ruin everything like this? We have a wedding coming up. His duplicity and treachery made the girl even more angry. Let's start over? No thanks. I have a video recording of you slipping me sleeping pills on the day of our reconciliation. Yes, I installed a hidden camera because I couldn't understand what was happening to me. It was you who was constantly pumping me with sleeping pills, and you also accused me of going crazy and making it all up. I kept thinking, why? And I hired a detective. He explained everything to me. You never loved me. You were just looking for hidden treasures in this house, right? Daddy put you up to it? You worthless thing. I believed you. Get out of here. Otherwise, I'll take all this to the police. The detective will help me, and you'll go to jail for a long time, along with your silicone beauty. Vadim's face changed and he backed down. Prison was clearly not in his plans. No need to go to the police. Please, I understand everything and I'm leaving now. But no, there is definitely no money in your house. I have already dug through everything, believe me. Of course, I did not love you. You have seen yourself in the mirror. No face, no skin, a skinny moth, and a complete log in bed. That's it. Goodbye, poor orphan. Nastya slapped him and shouted, What a scoundrel you are! I hate you! And ran into the house. She cried for a long time, drank valerian, and cried again. And she kept thinking, why is everything like this? My parents were millionaires, and I am poor as a church mouse. I don't remember them at all. I missed my mother's affection and father's care so much. I thought that at least I was lucky with my fiancé. I found my happiness. And then all this deception. He turned out to be a traitor. Am I some kind of unlucky, damaged, or something? Is it really impossible to love me just like that? I will not approach any guy again, since they are such scoundrels. Viktor Andreevich kept his promise and helped find a specialist. He looked like an old, bald little old man with glasses and a beard. He methodically, step by step, tapped the walls and floors and listened with some kind of tricky device. Finally, after rummaging around under the bathtub for a long time, he joyfully exclaimed, Here! It seems there is something here. He began to very carefully, millimeter by millimeter, move the tiles, and suddenly right under it, Nastya saw a built-in niche, in it a small safe with a combination lock. Wow! All this time she washed herself, walked on the floor, washed the floor there 100 times, and did not suspect anything. The old man moved his mustache, scratched his beard, and began to pick the code. He entered different combinations, but the result was 0. Then he suddenly looked at Nastya and hit himself on the forehead. What a fool I am. You are his daughter. He adored you. Well, of course. When is your birthday? Nastya named the numbers. The man entered them backwards, and lo and behold, the safe opened. There were some papers, bundles of money, bank cards, and much more. The specialist shook the girl's hand. That's it. Congratulations, my dear. Now you own a large fortune. However, your late father was very resourceful. He hid everything so cleverly. Look how many years it lay there, and no one found it. The dumbfounded Nastya generously thanked the man. She simply could not wrap her head around it all. What a dad! Now she is so rich that she can live in old age without worrying about anything. What a royal gift, nothing to say. In addition to valuables and money, there were several photographs at the bottom of the safe. Apparently, the father decided to save them for posterity. There were young dad, mom, and she, Nastya, in a funny cap and with a pacifier. Happiness simply shone in her parents' eyes. So, They truly loved her, and everything that happened after was a tragic coincidence. Then she looked at another photo. There she was, exactly 3 years old. Apparently, it was taken shortly before those terrible events. There, Nastya was in a beautiful polka dot dress and with a huge bow on her head, and the caption below, "My beloved daughter, Nastyusha." These photos were much more valuable to the girl than everything else, because they were memories of her family which she did not remember at all. The first thing Nastya decided to do was visit her parents' grave, and went there the next day. She wandered around the cemetery for a long time before she found the place the detective had mentioned. The graves had long been abandoned and overgrown with weeds. The tombstones had sunk and were crooked. Nastya could not stand it and burst into tears, peering at the faded photographs of her closest people. Now she realized that she looked a lot like her father, the same eyebrows and look, but her hair and lips were her mother's. The girl furiously pulled out the weeds for several hours and whispered, "Forgive me, my dears. I didn't know anything about you at all. I will visit you often from now on, I promise." She didn't immediately notice how the little boy came up to her from behind and quietly asked, "Excuse me, do you have any candy or cookies? I would eat them for the kingdom of heaven." She guiltily rummaged through her pockets. "No, somehow I didn't think about that. Baby, let me give you some money, and will you buy it?" The boy shook his head sadly. "No, I don't need money. My stepmother will find it and take it away anyway and drink it away." The shocked Nastya continued, "She's offending you, right? What's your name? Where's your dad? Why are you here alone?" The boy answered, "I am Lyoshka, and my dad is in the north. Far away, he earns money and rarely comes. I tell him that she beats me, but he doesn't believe me. In his presence, my stepmother doesn't offend me. I always walk here. They bring candies and cookies here. And what's your name?" Nastya answered, "And I'm Nastya. Listen, do you want to visit me? Do I live nearby? I'll feed you a delicious dinner. Will they not scold you?" Lyoshka was happy. I'm so hungry. No one will look for me. My stepmother is probably already drunk and asleep. She doesn't care whether I'm at home or not." Nastya was amazed. Poor child, where is the father looking? He needs to be helped and sort everything out. She put him in the car and drove him to her place. Lyoshka happily gobbled up the cabbage soup and cutlets and then drank tea with a bun. Nastya packed a whole bag of food for him to take home with him. The house looked very well kept and neat. It was hard to believe that the stepmother really drank heavily and offended the boy. Nastya patted the little boy on his curly head and said, "Well, run home. Can I come to you again tomorrow? I'll bring something tasty, and at the same time I'll meet your stepmother." Lyoshka was delighted. "Of course, come, Aunt Nastya. I'll be waiting." They said goodbye, and the girl left on business. Nastya decided to watch the baby casually meet his parents. Maybe it's not as scary as he describes. Children can fantasize to attract the attention of adults. Nastya ordered a new beautiful monument and photographs for her parents, but no matter what she did, her thoughts kept returning to Lyoshka. His sad, brown, beady eyes and smile had sunk deep into her soul. The next day, she bought some goodies again and came to Lyoshka's house. She rang the bell for a long time, knocked, a dog barked in the yard, but no one opened the door. Who knows, maybe they went somewhere. Anything can happen, the girl decided and went home. The next day, the situation repeated itself, and Nastya became seriously worried. Or maybe Lyoshka wasn't lying, and something bad really happened to him. She walked around the house and began to look into the windows, trying to see at least something. Suddenly it seemed to her that someone was lying and moving on the sofa in the room. So, There was someone at home after all? So why wasn't they opening the door? She looked over the fence. There was a huge padlock hanging outside. What the hell is going on here? The girl thought, and without thinking went to the local police officer. He did not brush her off, listened to everything attentively, then said, "Well, Lyoshka's father is really in the north. He has been working on a rotational basis for a long time. The boy's mother died a long time ago, a year and a half after giving birth. Something went wrong with her in a woman's way. Ivan spent a long time with Lyoshka himself, raised him as best he could, and when he grew up, he started living with a woman, Valentina, and he began to go to work. He needed to feed his family. Valentina, of course, is a cheeky woman, not to put a finger in her mouth. But I have never heard of her drinking like crazy. Let's go, I'll see for myself what's going on." Nastya and the police officer, Vasily Stepanovich, returned to the house again, began to stamp their feet, and now the two of them looked out the window. And indeed, someone was fidgeting on the sofa and even trying to get up. They went to the neighbors, found out that Valentina had not been home for a couple of days. They thought she had gone somewhere with Lyoshka. Vasily Stepanovich decided to pick the lock, took an axe, and knocked it out on the second try. Nastya ran into the house. She had a bad feeling. When they saw what was going on there, everyone's hair stood on end. The baby was lying on the sofa. He was tossing and turning in bed and delirious, shouting, "Daddy, Daddy, where are you? She's bad. Help me, please." Nastya put her hand to his head. The boy was all burning. He had a high temperature. His lips were dry and cracked. It was obvious that the child was very ill and had not eaten or drunk for a long time. The girl immediately brought water, gave the child a drink. He drank greedily and for a long time, and whispered, "Aunt Nastya, you finally came," and then lost consciousness again. The frightened girl screamed, "I'm taking the boy to my place. I'll call a private pediatrician now, and I'll nurse him back to health. Time is precious." And you figure out where the careless mother disappeared to, and how she could leave the baby alone and lock him in from the outside. The child turned out to have pneumonia. Apparently he caught a cold in an unheated house. Nastya nursed him for 3 weeks, gave him pills as prescribed by the doctor, and carried out other procedures. Little by little, Lyoshka was getting better. His appetite returned, and he was already eating soups and fruits. The local police officer found the address and sent a telegram to Lyoshka's father to come home immediately. Valentina was found a day after the boy was discovered. It turns out that she simply went on a spree with some visiting sucker, completely forgetting about her stepson. The woman was sincerely perplexed by the scandal. "Give me the child. It's my business how to raise him." Well, she went out on business, so what? How did I know he would get sick? I locked him up on purpose so he wouldn't wander around. What a tragedy they made out of nothing. The local police officer shamed her. "How can you not be ashamed, Valka? The kid is only 6 years old. They can put him in jail for that, if you didn't know. No one will give you the child. He is in good hands. When Ivan comes, you can sort it out yourselves. It's a madhouse, not a family." Lyoshka doted on Nastya, clung to her all the time, hugged her, looked into her eyes and asked, "You won't abandon me, Aunt Nastya? You won't give me to my stepmother? I don't want to go to her. She always yelled at me, called me a parasite. She's bad and mean. Only Daddy doesn't believe me. He thinks I'm lying." Nastya also became attached to the baby. She happily played with him, bought children's books and coloring books. They drew together, played, and they were so happy together. Ivan finally returned and immediately rushed after his son, having learned all the details from the local police officer. Nastya opened the door. A young, tall, pleasant-looking man of about 30 stood on the threshold. He chatted. "Hello, I'm Lyosha's dad. My name is Ivan. They told me that you saved him and nursed him back to health. Is he with you now?" The girl nodded. "Good afternoon. Yes, I have a boy. Come in. He missed you so much." Lyosha, hearing his father's voice, ran out into the corridor like a jet plane and threw himself into his arms. They were both crying, sobbing loudly. Lyosha screamed, "Daddy, don't leave me again, please. My stepmother is bad. She hurts me. I don't want to be with her." And the man wiped away a tear with the sleeve of his thick sweater and whispered, "Forgive me, Sonny, for not believing you. I swear I'm not going anywhere anymore, and I'll sort things out with Valentina. She won't hurt you anymore. You and I don't need a mother like that." Then he looked up at Nastya and looked at her like that, saying, "Thank you, Nastenka, from the bottom of my heart. If it weren't for you, I don't even know what could have happened. Well, I'll take my son. Do you mind?" Nastya suddenly felt so sad, and she answered, "Yes, yes, of course you're his father. But I won't let you go anywhere without a tasty dinner. Wash your hands and come to the table. Lisha and I have everything ready." The three of them ate. Ivan praised the soup and pancakes with meat. Then they drank tea. Lesha ate his fill and ran to look at the gifts that his father had brought with him, taking them out of his backpack, and the man began to slowly tell about himself. "I got married early. It just happened. I fell in love with Sveta back in school, and that's it. The whole world converged on her. I didn't need anyone else except her. After school, I started working as a driver. Sveta worked as a nanny in a kindergarten. We lived like everyone else, not rich, but amicably and well. We bought a plot of land. I built a house myself, with my own hands. I put my soul into it. Then Sveta got pregnant. We were so happy. But she was very sick. She barely carried the baby to term. She had health problems after a difficult illness. She barely gave birth to Lyoshka, and then she spent a long time being treated. In the end, it turned out she had oncology. Only the doctors noticed it too late. They missed the moment. So my swallow died when Lyoshka was only 1.5 years old. I was so sad. I didn't even want to live. So I held on only for my son's sake. Until I got used to messing around with him, we had been through so much. And a year ago at a friend's birthday party I met Valka. She came to me this way and that. In short, we woke up in the same bed. That's how we started living. The guys told me, "Don't get involved with her. She's a womanizer. She likes to drink." But I didn't believe them. I thought they were slandering her. They were just jealous. Lyoshka took her with hostility right away. He didn't like her from the first day. But she kept telling me that it would pass, that the baby was jealous, and that it would be easier later. She never offended him in front of me. And she kept nagging me, saying that there was not enough money, that I needed to find a good job. So I went north, thinking that I would travel for a year or two, save up for a car, and take Lyoshka to the sea. I thought, like a fool, that I was doing everything right. So what? A son with a stepmother. So what? But now I see that I almost lost my son. That shrew will never set foot in my house. I sent her so much money, and it turns out that my son was collecting candy at the cemetery so as not to die of hunger. I will never trust my son to anyone again after this. I am a lousy father. Nastya tried to support the man. Well, who doesn't make mistakes? The main thing is that everything ended well. I understand you. I got burned badly too. Now I don't trust anyone. And there was a groom, and the wedding was planned. And it turns out he gave me sleeping pills and had affairs with his mistress. So I swore off too. I won't let anyone else into my soul. And Lyoshka is a wonderful boy. I've grown attached to him with all my heart, really. I don't even want to part. Take care of him. Come visit him with him, I'll be glad. My home is always open to you. They said goodbye warmly. Lyoshka barely tore himself away from Nastya and kept asking, "Can I come visit you? And you come to us? You are very good. I would like you to be my mother." Nastya blushed with embarrassment, but she was very pleased with such warm and sincere words of the boy. And Ivan looked at her again so soulfully, took her hand in his huge palm and quietly said, "I'm not saying goodbye. Let's be friends. Until next time, and thank you again." Without Lyoshka, the house immediately became empty, strange and cold. Nastya couldn't find a place for herself, walked from corner to corner, not knowing what to do with herself, and Ivan still wouldn't leave her mind. When he took her hand, it was as if a fire burned inside, and it became so good. Nastya couldn't stand it, and rushed to her faithful friend Marinka, who was just home after her shift. They, as usual, sat in the kitchen, and Nastya, not giving her time to come to her senses, dumped all the news on her. Then she asked, "Well, tell her fortune. What awaits me? I understand that this is all not serious, but still." "I can't. I think about Ivan all the time, and I fell in love with Lyoshka like a family member, honestly." Marinka narrowed her eyes and smiled. "Have you fallen in love, my dear? I haven't seen you like this for a long time. In my opinion, you and Vadim have never looked so happy. Okay, let's see." My friend spread out the cards, and then she exclaimed, "Well, that's a completely different matter. Here it is, the King of Hearts under your heart. Changes await you, but the card that falls is very bright, good, and he has no one. Well, that's it, my friend. Soon I will give you in marriage, you'll see." Nastya's heart fluttered joyfully. "Oh, come on. You're saying that we barely know each other and you're immediately getting married." But Marinka was spinning the cards again. "It's not me who says this, it's the cards. They never lie. Want to bet? If I'm right, you owe me my favorite chocolate cake, okay?" And indeed, the very next day, Ivan called Nastya and invited her to dinner. She happily agreed. She bought Lyoshka some interesting puzzles, a delicious cake, and went to visit. She remembered what the house looked like when she picked up the boy, and was amazed at the changes that had occurred in just a few days. Everything was washed and tidied. New fashionable curtains were hanging on the windows, and a rich table was set in the room. A duck with apples was steaming on a platter in the middle, and there were several salads. Lyoshka, seeing Nastya, squealed and threw himself on her neck. Then he reported, "I missed you so much, honestly. Sit down, try it." I stuffed the apples into the duck myself and helped Dad cook. We tried our best. Ivan also looked meaningfully at Nastya and added, "Thank you for coming. You are the most dear and welcome guest for my son and me. Come in, sit down at the table." They had a delicious dinner, then drank tea with cake, and then all together assembled the puzzles that had been given to them. Time flew by, and it was time for Lyoshka to go to bed. He suddenly went up to his father and asked, "Can Nastya put me to bed? Let her not go. I feel so good with her." Ivan looked at the girl affectionately and added, "I don't mind. I feel so good with her too. I would never let her go anywhere." Nastya's heart started beating wildly. She felt so warm and good at heart. She happily put the baby to bed, told him a story about a polar bear. He hugged her, kissed her, and sleepily whispered, "I love you, Mom." The girl barely held back the flow of tears and answered, "I love you too, son." She came out of the nursery and hesitated. "Can you imagine? Lyoshka called me Mom. I almost burst into tears. It's so touching. You know, I really loved him, like my own." Ivan took her hand. "And me? Can you love me?" When I saw you, so fragile, so tender, so real, I immediately disappeared. Marry me, Nastenka. I don't promise you mountains of gold, I'm not a millionaire, but I will take care of you like the most precious treasure. Nastya pressed herself against his prickly cheek and whispered, I agree. My life is not sweet without you and Lyoshka. You are all I think about. Just no more working shifts. We need you here. I think you can find a job here too. Ivan kissed her passionately, and they never parted again. A month later, the wedding took place. Nastya was simply charming in a long, tight, snow-white lace dress. Ivan did not leave her side for a minute and held her hand, as if he was afraid that she would disappear somewhere. Little Lyoshka, in a suit with a bow tie, walked importantly around the wedding palace, holding a bouquet for his mother in his hands. There were not many guests, only the closest ones. The witness was, of course, Marinka. She was having fun, dancing and flirting with one of the invited guests from the groom's side, a serious geologist winking at Nastya and repeating, And I told you, the cards don't lie. You owe me a chocolate cake, or better yet, two. The news quickly spread around the city and reached Vadim. He drank bitter and was furious. What a cretin I am! Why couldn't I live with Nastya? I fell for this Carolina, damn her. And as a result, no millions, no bride, no mistress, nothing. I was left with nothing, and otherwise I would have been rolling in clover. Nastya and Ivan lived very well. They matched each other like those puzzles that she gave to the baby. It seemed that the three of them were made for each other. She told her husband the story of her birth. Together they visited the grave of Ivan's parents and late wife. They had no skeletons in the closet or secrets from each other. Nastya often thought, snuggling up to Vanechka at night, I've known him for so little time, and I'm so happy. And I've been dating Vadim for so long, and he turned out to be so two-faced. That's how life happens. If you liked the story, please support me with a like. And to learn about the release of new, interesting stories, subscribe to my channel. All the best to you. Thank you for watching.